Hello, Night Owls. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We are very excited about tonight's panel about romance, kicking off Valentine's Day weekend.
Hello, thank you, Emma. My name is Jennifer Jenkins. I am an author. I write lots of books and they always include a romantic element because why else would we write? And I am with Owl Hollow, as Emma said, I am the author of the Teen Writer's Guide, Your Roadmap to Writing, and the book that I have coming out with Owl Hollow in a year, which will be my 8th published novel, is called Eavesdropper. Is that formal? Is that like the official title? I think it is, right? We're still, it's very in the development stages. The book is written and it is something I'm really excited to share. It's a story that I've been in love with for like a decade, and I'm finally getting to share it with Owl Hollow, so I'm grateful for that. I'm also a co-founder of a nonprofit organization called Teen Author Bootcamp. We put together conferences and content for teens promoting teen literacy and authorship around the world. We are international now. So we have our big conference coming up in March with Lee Bardugo and lots of other amazing authors, Christopher Paolini, the list goes on. But happy to be here. Thanks, Emma.
Hey guys. I don't see the, hang on.
I hear you. I see
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Marie Hawkins. I am the author of The Language of Cherries. And I also have another book coming out in a year from Owl Hollow called All the Lonely People. I don't have quite the introduction that Jennifer Jenkins does, but I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Emma, for having us.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn Vroman. I'm the author of Into the Hollow. It is my 6th published book, young adult book. And like Jen, I put romance in everything because, of course, I love it. About me, I work at a library by day, so that's fun. And then, write at night, but that's just me. So.
Awesome. Yay. So exciting. Okay, so I'd love for you, each of you have a wide range of books. Tonight we're going to kind of try and focus it on the YA love story that we've published, just for streamlining it. So could you tell us a little bit about that book?
Okay, so this is not fair because the book isn't out yet and I have not developed a pitch for it that's like really snappy. So you're going to get a disjointed mess, but here it is. So this Eavesdropper is the story of a girl named Ebony Fields, and she's the daughter of a councilman and pretty much a disgrace. Her father is a widower and he doesn't know what to do with her because she finds herself in the most crazy, insane situations left and right and is constantly eavesdropping and very disgraceful. And he ships her off with a group of ambassadors to represent Freeland in this festival. And through a series of events, and the most notable thing that you should know, there's a love interest because her big brother's best friend and her childhood nemesis joins them in this traveling party, and their love-hate relationship develops into a little bit more love than hate, and as they attempt to overthrow this devious plot that they uncover through the use of her, ironically, through the use of all of her crazy abilities to get herself in bad situations. So it's a lot of fun. It is definitely, I would call it a love story, YA romance before I would call it anything else. But there are some elements of mysticism. And see, that is not clear cut. If you're an author, that was a terrible job and you should not touch a book like that. And I'm sorry. Done.
Lucky for Jen, we read it and already love it. So.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Jen.
Oh, so I'm very bad at elevator pitches too, but I actually wrote one for this one. So I'm prepared. So The Language of Cherries is a coming-of-age story with magical elements, and it's set in Iceland about a girl and a boy who communicate through art and music instead of language and fall in love. How's that? How'd I do?
That's so good.
Great.
I mean, it doesn't do it justice, but it was a very good.
Okay, well, my story is It's Into the Hollow. It's definitely realistic fiction. It's about a girl named Free who hides in the hollers of West Virginia with her dad and her baby brother, her younger brother. There's big secrets. There's a reason why they're hiding. But then she meets her neighbor, and her neighbor's cool, and they build this friendship, and then bad things happen, and they have to, they work together, and he's this is really bad. This is really terrible. But anyway, the story is actually, it centers around the poverty that in West Virginia, and the struggle that a lot of kids kind of go through in that particular area in our country. You see a lot of desolation. So I just wanted to, the books just highlights the kids that kind of have to grow up in that area. Of course, there's the love story, and this is terrible. I'm so sorry.
They're all great. They're all so good. I wish, I was telling Lynn and Marie Hawkins that Into the Hollow and The Language of Cherries have a very similar rhythm to me. Obviously, Lynn Vroman's isn't in prose, but they have kind of the back and forth perspective. And anyway, so it's fun how these all kind of tie together. We definitely have a type, and it's fun to read these stories. But so, two of you at least mentioned that there's romance in everything that you write. What is it about love stories that people are drawn to, even within other genres, and especially YA? It doesn't matter what kind of book it is, there's usually an element of romance. So what is it about love stories that readers love?
I think that if you boil love down, it really comes down to tension. And from a mechanical storytelling place to speak from, tension fuels novels. It's what gets us to turn the page. And so there's so much uncertainty in love, and it's so relatable to the reader that combination just is a tinderbox, just absolutely ripe and ready to just blow up. And that's why I like to include romance in my novels, and I think that's why it's so relevant to most, especially YA literature, is relatability and tension. Ladies.
I agree with that completely. I think specifically for YA, these readers are just probably experiencing romantic love for the first time, so they want to read about it. They want to kind of get some context because they don't have a whole lot of experience. And I think that it's the best thing about life. I mean, I love writing about romance. I love reading about romance. And like Emma said, pretty much everything that, any story that you read has some element of romance in it. But I think it's because we can all relate to it. It makes us feel good and gives us hope.
Yeah, I just to piggyback on what you said, it's just those feelings of those first feelings of love, especially in young adult, because it's so new, and just being able to experience that and just really feeling that first time awakening, I think is so important to all of us. And with young adult, just definitely feeling that first time love, and feeling the reactions in your body and to other people. I think it's important.
Well, isn't that hierarchy? I know I'm going out of order, Emma. What you said just made me think that, if we look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I swear they're different for teenagers. I swear food and sleep and water are important, but they're like not the foundation. It is my teenagers' biggest motivation is I want to be liked. I want to be seen. I want to be understood. Those themes are just so just intrinsically, just woven through every romance novel to be wanted. We want to be wanted.
I love all of those answers. So I'm going to kind of throw you something that we didn't discuss ahead of time. Why do you think so many readers are middle-aged women? If there's this need to be,
they're unhappy in their marriage. No, I'm kidding. Do you guys
like to revisit the being seen and being wanted, or what do you think?
I mean, I would ... that. You know what I mean? I really would, because I think it's still relevant. I mean, look at the industry. Look at how much we invest financially, even in being individualized and seen. Anyway, ladies, anything else? Sorry.
I don't know. I think, just the, when you're like my age, it's kind of, you become a little, I don't know, desensitized to different things and different emotions, and you just start, you kind of just living your life. You're raising your kids, middle-aged women, you're working, you're cleaning your house, but you still, I mean, inside of us, we all remember when we were young and those first feelings that you had, and that first love that you had. I mean, it's such a powerful experience. I think just for anybody, girl, boy, anybody, it's just so powerful. And to be able to relive that through books and kind of live vicariously through love, that young love, and that just special kind of, it just the and then you go up and you give your baby a bath and rock them to sleep and have to get up at 5 a.m. So I think that's why that's why I like reading them.
I think I forget that I'm not 16 anymore. Like, I still feel 16, and then I'm like, wait, no, I'm definitely not a 16-year-old anymore, but I still want to read about that stuff. Like, I love re-experiencing that coming of age story, like the way you feel the first time you feel certain things. I don't know. I just think that is, I don't know. I think that's the best part about reading romance in YA, for sure.
Oh, those are all excellent answers. For those of you who've just joined us, tell us in the comments your favorite literary romantic moments. One thing I loved about all of your books is they are romances, but they are also about the individual. There's other things going on. There's grief, there's abandonment, there's trying to find your place in the world, there's not fitting in. So can you tell me about what you were, but they're still fun and fulfilling and romantic, obviously. So what were you trying to do with that? And what was your process for kind of balancing the heavy with the light and fun and romantic?
For me, when I develop a character, especially, I always go back to motivation, and there needs to be an obvious gap. Something's wrong with the character, something's wrong in their life, and it's intrinsic, it's external as well. It's internal and external, and it is this flaw has to belong only to your protagonist. It has to. If it's shared or solved by somebody else or with somebody else, then it cheapens the character development that your protagonist gets to experience. And so for me, I think we've all read that story, romance novels. There's about 1 million of them on Amazon. You can seriously just go one to the next, to the next, to the next, and there's so many stories out there that don't have a strong sense of self evaluation in the main character, or self-actualization that is benefited from this story that the character has been able to trek through. And those stories feel weak, they feel flat, they feel unfulfilled. It's just like, oh yeah, they got together and they happily ever after, but there was no triumph in that. And that we don't realize it, but the triumph does not come from the love story per se. It's a great highlight moment in a story, but the triumph, the feel good, the takeaway, like, wow, that was a great book moment, comes when the character has solved or fulfilled whatever is lacking within them.
I love that.
Wow, that's a great answer. That's hard to follow. So I think, I mean, for the language of cherries, the story itself is about communication and kind of opening your heart to someone after you've suffered the worst possible kind of pain. And I think my intention was to show that sometimes really beautiful things can come from that pain if you just find someone that understands that grief and can share in it with you. I think that's what I was trying to accomplish, if that answers the question.
Love that.
With Into the Hollow, I honestly, the romance wasn't even, when I was planning the book, there wasn't even a romance. It just kind of grew, because to me that wasn't the most important part. It was the romantic love, but there was family love in my book. There was the relationship between Free and her little brother, and I think what I was looking at is I didn't want the main character to just be reduced to a love interest. I didn't want her to just her motivation just to be a boy. It was so much bigger than that. She had so much more to accomplish than just finding a boy, and her resolution wasn't, I happily ever after with this boy. It was self-awareness, and I think that was most important in my book, is just her to find peace within herself, because another person isn't going to make you happy before you got to make yourself happy. So I think that was important for me in the book.
Those are great answers. Kind of piggybacking on that, you've answered this a little bit, but a story is only as good as its characters. So let's focus on your heroines. What makes a strong character, and what tips do you have for writers maybe who are writing great characters?
I think my heroines, well, the heroine for Eavesdropper, I think her biggest benefit, I guess, I think her most dynamic character element is just the fact that she's not confident, and she feels like she's letting everyone down, but she's actually being really brave, and that sort of self-discovery and ownership that evolves throughout the course of the book, I think is what makes her great. And in general, with characters, making sure that they're flawed, making sure that there's an element of humor, but also the character doesn't take themselves too seriously. Those are things that I really like to see in characters.
I think a good character feels like somebody that the reader knows or could know. I think that they should be flawed the way real people are and have authentic motivations, like you talked about earlier, Jennifer. I think that for Evie in The Language of Cherry, she's kind of a brat at first. Like, I don't know how you guys were as teenagers, but I remember being kind of a brat. Like, I'm surprised that my parents put up with me, I think that a good character should feel like that, like should be a real teenager in YA. Character development is my favorite part of the writing process. Like, I fill out character questionnaires and I personality type them with the Enneagram and Myers-Briggs, and I pick out their zodiac sign. Like, I wish somebody would just pay me to invent characters. It's definitely my favorite part. So I think it's really important for us to make those characters as real as we possibly can, so that our readers can connect with them and relate with them.
Wow, I think you both answered it. I think that's kind of what, the flaws, and there has to be realism to this character. They can't be the prettiest or the most handsome. They can't be the best, at this, and the most popular, and everybody thinks they're beautiful. I think that, to me, is, especially for teen literature, is really just unrealistic. I think being a young person, you're growing into yourself, and I think you need to kind of show that awkwardness in a lot of ways too. So definitely just trying to make them as real as possible definitely you know, don't gloss over the ugly, because there's so much ugly in the world, and you really got to make sure that you know, that's, I think kids relate more, or anybody in general relate more to people that that aren't perfect. And
I see that you're a Steelers fan, so
my husband.
Your husband, but you probably vicariously watch a lot of football. Or
Yes.
so whenever I watch a game and I don't have a dog in the fight, I'm not like cheering for my team, I automatically go to the team who is losing, and I'm cheering for them. I'm cheering for the underdog. And I think that the same thing applies with characters. You know, nobody really is jazzed about cheering for, you know, the kid that should win, you know, that is, you know, physically gifted or anything like that. You know, we are excited by the boy who lives under the stairs, who has messy hair and has a bad home life. And you see where I'm going with that. We're cheering for that underdog. And so creating that element of, you know, conquering against the odds instead of because of the odds, you know, is powerful in character. Sorry. I've just been admiring your Steelers paraphernalia.
Oh my goodness, it's years in the making. So much.
Those are all excellent answers. I wanted to read you some of the comments. Beth says, reading YA romance can help a mom remember what a daughter might be experiencing, since it was likely a while ago the mom experienced it. I love that. Ellie says, beautiful things can come from the pain. I love that. Jennifer Blackburn says, even though I'm a middle-aged woman, I do love reading YA books. They are easy reads and easy to relate to going through my younger years. And Olivia said, I just read an adult romance and I was like, take me back to YA. So, really good answers, very insightful. So I'm interested here because you all do really cool things with your romance, and you have a bigger picture and you have really great characters. So do you think that romance has a responsibility to kind of look at bigger issues? A lot of times romance gets criticized for being fluffy or not relevant. Do you feel like there's a place for both, or do you feel like romance has a responsibility to subvert gender stereotypes and do something new and interesting with the genre?
I think there's a peg for every hole, and there are some readers that's what they need. They need a mindless escape that just makes them feel happy, and that's the type of book that they want. And I don't think that there's any harm in that. I say that, and then there's a however coming, because I do feel like, I mean, if you haven't noticed the major pendulum shift from the times of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Disney princess, you know, a couple decades there, there's something to be said about empowering women. And I can tell you that my 14-year-old gets really bugged with weak female characters. She really does. She won't tolerate them. She'll put the book down. And I feel like us oldies, if you are as old as I am, we were raised on more of those traditional fairy tale-esque type stories, and so we're more tolerant of them. But I think it is a little bit of an oversight not to acknowledge the feminine movement and the feminist movement, excuse me, and to really identify with your reader that way, because I'm not saying every female protagonist needs to go out there and like know karate and like can lift 5,000 pounds and all of that stuff, but they do need to be strong in some way. And they need to definitely, if they are the protagonist, if they are the one in charge of their story, and we are narrating, especially if we're narrating from their perspective, they sure as heck better solve the problem at the end. They can have help through secondary characters for sure, but it has to be their victory. Otherwise, what's the point of the story? You should have narrated from the other character if you're going to have them solve the problem. Anyway,
I love that answer.
I agree with that completely. I think in Cherries, I think I kind of unconsciously subverted gender roles, because Evie, the main character, she's kind of loud, she talks a lot, she's kind of pushy, and Oscar is the reserved, kind of self-conscious one, because he has a stutter, he's reserved and shy. I didn't really set out to do that. I just wrote characters that fit into the world that I see. But so I guess I say that to say I don't think you should set out with an agenda when you write something as an author, because if you set out to like teach people something, you know, I think you risk,
Educate the masses.
yeah, you
Yeah.
run the risk of being really disingenuous. So
And talking down to
Exactly.
people.
Exactly. So I think you should write what you love and feel passionate about, but also when it comes time to revise, be really conscious of what you've written and make sure you're not being lazy and leaning on harmful or problematic stereotypes.
Stereotypes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like Jen said that, you know, there's a book for every person. If you're looking for, you know, I know that the young adult books that I read back in the early 2000s, it was the Mary Sue characters. That the story was happening to her. She wasn't
Right.
a part of the story. And thankfully, I think times are evolving, and you know, being a mom of 3 daughters, I just, you know, I value strength in women, and I think it's not something I consciously set out to do. It's something that I think is important. And like Jen Hawkins said, it can't be forced though. You know, you can't try to teach somebody, you know, to show them, you know, this is how you're supposed to do it. And if you're not this strong, and if you're not this, you know, then you're not, you know, a genuine woman or a genuine female. But I do think it's important not to have the story happen to young women. And I think this day and age, girls need to have stories about strong girls, whether, you know, physically strong and depending on the genre, or just able to withstand, you know, what's happening, you know, to them. But and not have the boy save her in the end. You know, she has to save herself. I think.
Well,
I think
and
it's important.
I think that sometimes we overdo it, you know, and this goes back to what Jen Hawkins. Wow, sorry, we're just gonna say Jen, and it you know, it works. But I think this is something that what Jen was touching on too is I almost roll my eyes sometimes when it's so blatantly obvious that the writer is trying to like teach a lesson and show you how strong this woman is. We should not be afraid to give our male either protagonists or secondary characters strengths. They can be strong too.
Yes.
We don't need to minimize men as we uplift women. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's a fine line there, and I think that you don't need to, you know, kick on one to serve the other.
It's definitely a balance where you don't want to. It's definitely a balance. You know, like I said, we come out. We're just finally moving into an era where the, you know, women, girl characters are strong characters. But like you said, you know, to make the boy protagonist or the secondary character a villain in some way is just, you know, is just as
pathetic.
It's just as detrimental. Right. I mean, boys can be nice, because in my book, Cole is very nice, but he's not you know, he's not a doormat. So so definitely you have to. There has to be a balance.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Excellent answers. Ellie says anything with a happy ending is accused of being fluffy, and she says maybe that's why I like YA. I'm still awkward. Aren't we all, right?
Happy for now is good. Happy for now is always good.
It's a good way to put it. Again, if you have questions, put them in the comments, and tell us your favorite literary romantic moments as we go. So I would love to know, I feel like all of you have been successful in different ways. You're very smart and capable. So when you write, do you write to what you think the market will enjoy, or do you stick to writing what you love?
Write what I love. I write the story that I want to read, and I write the thing that's buzzing in my ear and won't leave me alone. That's what I write.
Absolutely. Me too. I write what I love because I'm way too slow of a drafter to ever write anything to market.
Yeah. I would miss the
Move
trend
on before I'm
completely. So it takes me a long time. So definitely, I write what I want to read. I write what I think I chasing a trend is just, it's fruitless. It really is
Absolutely.
disingenuous too, because you can, yeah, for sure.
Okay, one thing we have to talk about in a romance panel is the tropes. There are so many great romance tropes, whether it's love triangles or friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, all kinds of the one bed, all kinds. We could talk about tropes all night long. But what are some of your favorite romance tropes that you love to read and play with in your own writing?
Oh, I love the villains. I mean, not the villains, the enemies that turned lover. And
Yes.
I mean, everybody loves stuff like that, I don't want to take them all. Maybe we should go rapid fire. Like, I'll say one, and then you guys say one, and then we'll just, because it's not fair to the last person.
Right, I'm trying to grasp it.
Okay, I'll build on that. I like enemies to lovers too and friends to lovers because I think there's something that just gets me about people who already have really strong feelings for each other and like watching those feelings develop into something else, like the evolution is really fascinating to me. So I just like watching people who already have some sort of foundation grow into something else, I guess.
I would say my favorite is friends to lovers, definitely. I like enemies to lovers. I really do. It's fun. It's so much fun when you have an enemies to lovers story. But friends to lovers, I think, is what I like to write anyway. It's one of my favorites. Love triangles are tricky. It's one of those. That's kind of tough. I don't know. You have to be able to do it right to make it work, I think, but definitely friends to lovers is my favorite.
I lately have been really enjoying the trope of, and I don't know if this is a tried and true trope, but just the forgiveness element. Thinking of Count of Monte Cristo is a good example. Him really plotting to destroy the person that he loves desperately, only to find forgiveness in that ultimately in that relationship. Another example is Hamilton with Eliza. I mean, his Eliza's forgiveness is so powerful and beautiful, and those are messy, hard stories, and those are definitely, if we're categorizing love stories on a scale, they're definitely not the light, fluffy, fun reads that are just feel goods. Those are deep, emotive stories that really have that resonate with me. The love story really resonates with me because I feel like it's realistic and it's authentic and it's real. Yeah.
Any others? Any other favorite tropes?
You got star-crossed love. You got
what are like soulmates. I definitely like the soulmate. The soulmate trope. That's one of my favorites too.
When one of them wants to drink the other's blood.
Right. Definitely in any kind of speculative fiction, the soulmate trope is great. I think
right. It is.
I love it. Yeah.
Are all three of your YA novels that we're talking about, are they all friends to lovers? I'm trying to think.
Mine, yes, they're all friends. They're all friends to lovers. Mm-hmm.
Jen Hawkins starts a little bit as enemies.
A mix, yeah. Like they don't like each other at first, and then they sort of become friends, and then it just develops.
Yeah,
and then Jen Jenkins, yours are childhood friends, right?
Yes, in Eavesdropper, they're enemies. He hates him passionately.
Okay.
And they end up he takes on a role. Well, they both take on a role of protector, trying to look out for each other, in this crazy new country. Yeah.
I love that. Olivia asks, do you draw on personal experience when writing romance or just use your imagination based on what feels right for your character, or both?
I want to say I do. I mean, and I'm going to put a little asterisk next to that because Some of the most amazing moments of my life aren't real. I live in my head so much that I feel like I'm experiencing it. But yeah, I mean, I think learning the selflessness that comes with motherhood has taught me a lot about love. And obviously my relationships, you know, that I've had from adolescence to now have definitely taught me about love.
So I think, okay, a good friend of mine who has been friends with my husband for longer than she's been friends with me made the comment after she read The Language of Cherries. She's like, this book kind of creeped me out because I feel like I'm reading about Jeremy. I feel like I do draw from personal experience, but I try to be creative also. Like I try not to just totally write my entire experience because nobody wants to read that.
I do draw from experience. I don't necessarily think that I draw all of my thoughts from romantic love experience, but just love in general. But no, I think especially Into the Hollow, it's not me vicariously living through these characters. It's definitely what I see and saw in my head. So yeah. I would say though that the relationship with her brother is definitely true to life for me. I'm extremely close to my brother and sister. I love them so much, and so I understand that kind of love on that level. Definitely.
I was so in love with my brother's friends. He was 2 years older than me. And I would like linger in the back of the room and be like, oh, what do you guys need? Can I like, whatever. I was so pathetic, I'm sure. But so definitely if I'm owning it, I'll own it. Yes, for sure. I am reliving that feeling as I wrote that book, Eavesdropper. I was reliving the feelings that I had as a young girl, just wanting to be cool enough to hang with my brother's friends who I thought were super hot.
Yeah. That's funny. Jen Hawkins, I have a question for you. There is a magic in silence, getting to know someone not based on words, but by their actions and presence. Did you begin with the idea of giving Oscar a disability to create that love language, or was that something that just played out in order to create an obstacle between the two in the story?
I think it played out in order to become an obstacle. My husband jokes and is like, you just really want a man that doesn't talk. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sort of just evolved naturally. Like, I didn't really set out to do it. I don't know. I can't really explain my process, like how these things develop sometimes. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a hard question, Emma.
It is.
Yeah. It was a good question.
It was a good question for sure.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting that they had a language barrier, but then they also had him not talking at all. And, oh, that's another trope, was the misunderstanding or the
Yeah.
just talk about something.
Yeah.
But you did a really good job of it. Olivia says she loves your answers. She loves hearing what authors pull from their own lives and their stories. So that's super fun. It's good for us, Jen Jenkins, that you had a super awkward teenager.
I've been awkward my whole life, Emma. I'm still trying not to be awkward. I have a story a day about awkward for you. Give me a call.
Well, you're good at YA.
Yeah.
Okay, what genres have you all written besides romance, and are there genres you would love to try out that you haven't yet?
I have done nonfiction. I have done speculative fiction, fantasy, and I am working on a historical fiction. It's tabled right now because I have to get final edits in for a book that comes out in May. But I am working on a historical fiction, and I got my degree in history, and I've been wanting to attack this story for a really long time. It's Revolutionary War era in the United States, and it is so hard.
Oh my gosh.
It's so hard, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
Awesome. Good answer.
I feel like I'm copying your answer, but I'm working on a historical middle grade novel in verse right now about the 1900 Galveston hurricane. And it is, honest to God, the hardest thing I've ever written. It is so difficult to pare down the language and all the research involved. And it's the most work I've ever done. And, it'll probably be 30,000 words when it's complete. And I've written, 60, 70, 80,000 word novels, and this is so much harder.
Well, verse, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a writers group that I'm a part of, and one of the writers writes historical fiction, and I'm just like, how do you do it? I have no idea. It's so hard. It's the hardest, I think, genre to write because of all the research and how accurate you have to be. It's really difficult. But yeah, I've written science fiction, fantasy. Right now I'm playing a little bit with paranormal, so just for fun. But yeah, realistic fiction is, what I write the most. But I do dabble in a few different genres. So try. Definitely not historical fiction. I don't think I'm up to the task. So.
Me neither. Not you, me. Make sure I'm around that.
You guys have favorites? What is your favorite? If historical fiction is the hardest, what's the most fun?
I love building worlds. I love building worlds and delving into new cultures. That's probably a theme that you see throughout most of what I write. Almost everything that I write involves different societies meshing together, how they play. And yeah, I just love world building and magic systems and stuff like that too. It's fun.
Yeah, I do too. I like writing adult romance, and I wrote something that still needs to be edited really heavily, but it's a Southern-based kind of women's fiction novel, and that was super fun to write. Like, I just went ham in the Southern language, and that was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot easier to write than this middle grade.
So. I think what I'm writing now, like I said, I'm just kind of getting back into the love of writing. I the last about year or so, and I'm writing what I love, which is kind of paranormal. It's so much fun. You get to build these new worlds, like you said, and you just get to create something new and different, and just play with different themes. So yeah, definitely right now for me, paranormal's fun. It's just fun to write.
Awesome. Jennifer Blackburn says, being awkward is a good thing. It works for you, Jennifer. So you nailed the quirky, awkward heroine vibe. And then Julie says, my son's going to love that one. Anything involving weather, it's great. And Kelly says, looking forward to your next book, Jen Hawkins. We're going to talk about the next books because I am very much excited about Jen Hawkins' next book too. Okay. What are your top must-read romantic stories? And people in the comments. Okay, are you telling us, people in the comments, give them a second to think. I'm going to read a couple, but tell us your favorite love story moments. Alicia had several. She said Gilbert and Anne's hug on the bridge.
Oh, gosh. And
then Peta and Katniss on the roof, and Elizabeth and Darcy, period, which I think says it all. And then Olivia says, I love remembering the flair of young love. I think that's about our middle-aged mom conversation. Not that Olivia's middle-aged, but okay. So in the comments, tell us your favorite love story moments. Do you guys have top must-read romantic stories for people?
Okay, 2.
Okay.
These are not my favorite. They're just the ones that came to mind because when you ask a question like that, your brain just goes blah, because how in the world can you narrow it down? I read like 2 books a week. So Kiss of Deception. There is a moment in that book, and it's a reveal, so I don't really want to spoil the story for you. But there is a moment in that book, in book 1 of that series, that makes you go, what? And it is romantic and wonderful, and so I recommend that one. And the other is actually a surprise. I was joking around about vampires and stuff earlier, but I was thinking, I'm like, what are standout moments? And Stephanie Meyer's the host. There was a
I
moment
love that.
when when the main character, Wanda or something, it's been years since I read that. But so the fact that I thought of it, it really surprises me. But there was a moment where her and the love interest like have this freaking hot makeout scene in this tunnel. And to this day, I just remember feeling like that was so well written. There was so much emotion that came into that moment. And as a writer, I just went, I appreciated that emotion rather, a lot. I thought it was like, whoa. Yeah. Anyway.
Jen Jenkins, I'm going to embarrass you for a second. She does this amazing, I've seen her teach at a couple of conferences, class on suspense, and she did a little one for our YouTube video, so you should go watch it. But she talks about blowing up a balloon and how that's where the suspense is in the buildup and not in the actual kiss. It's in the like, excitement that comes with it. Yeah. So anyway, Jen is genius at building that. So, okay. Oh, stop talking. Who's next?
So my favorite thing to read when I'm getting ready to draft a romance novel is Pablo Neruda's poetry. Like that is the most romantic thing I think I've ever read in my whole life. Like he looks like I have one of his books just in case you ask this question, but like he looks like the Godfather. He does not look like a romantic character at all. But oh my gosh, like second to my husband, he is the most romantic dude ever to walk the earth. So I love just binge reading his poetry. My favorite romance novel probably that I've read like in the last 5 or 10 years is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. It's Enemies to Lovers novel, and it is, oh my God, it is so funny. It's one of my favorites.
So funny.
It is. I've read it like 4 or 5 times now. I read it like once a year. It's so funny.
Talk about romantic tension with that one too. That has great, and it also has like that great pow moment that, yeah, I agree. Great one.
Look it up.
Let's see. Well, an older book I liked, it was Everything by Nicola Yoon. The First Kiss between Maddie. I mean, the writing is just beautiful, and the tension that she creates between these two characters. I mean, I loved it. I loved it. Gosh, it's been a while since I read a young adult romance book, but let me think. I just got done reading Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. Now that's not a romance, but there's a nice romantic, subtle element to it. And at the end, Eleanor deserves this amazing, you know, they go out and it's really subtle and it's beautiful, but it's all through the book because he's waking her up to being able to feel human and feel worthy of somebody loving her. So yeah, that's kind of like my favorite book right now. So
it's a good one.
Yeah. Hannah says Julian and Scarlett in Caravel.
I like that. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
There's so many.
I know there's so many good ones. And I was thinking that this is probably blasphemous, but I'm just going to admit it because we're all friends here. But Jane Austen, she's the only one that I like the movies maybe a little better than the book because I feel like they distill all the best parts. But like the Hugh Grant Sense and Sensibility one, and obviously the BBC Pride and Prejudice, but just those, I don't know, they're so good at drawing it out and lingering, and it's not about like erotic sex or
it's making every little gesture. Yes. Maximizing the amount of emotion that comes out of those gestures. That's genius. That's very British too, isn't it? You know, just very understated. And you come to this climax and it's just like, what's the euphemism? I only show love to dogs and horses, but this was a pleasant moment. And I think it was wonderful.
Well said. We should just end there. Okay, I'd love to hear quickly, we're almost out of time, but or not or not quickly, but what are you working on now? What are you excited about?
I'm working on book 3 of the To Kill a Curse series. I'm just getting final edits for the last book is called The Order of Chaos. And I am jumping right from that into edits for Eavesdropper.
I have that one. That's one of the potential giveaways. It is very good. It's got
I
a
started reading that too. It is really good.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. What else?
So I've been working on the verse novel, as I've already talked about, but I have a YA novel coming out next fall called All the Lonely People. It is my love letter to the Beatles, and I don't have a really good elevator pitch for it yet, but I'm really
Oh, you just did it. You nailed it. That was perfect. Don't change the pitch. That's a perfect pitch. Excellent. What a great title.
I told Jen that she let me read it, obviously, but it's so good. From the very first, I think beginnings are so hard, and from the first page I was just laughing, and the voice was amazing. And I am like, don't hate me, but I'm not even super into the Beatles, but the way she brings together Beatles and ley lines and London, and it's just magical. So good.
I did.
So I'm excited for people to read it. Sorry.
Well, for me, I'm just, like I said, I'm just excited that I'm writing again. I kind of took a hiatus there for a little while. Life just kind of got in the way, but I'm back at it. I'm finding my love for it again. I'm working on short stories and writing books that probably will never see the light of day, but it's just getting back into, I know this sounds so boring, but it's just getting back into the love of it after, just a couple of years.
I think there's something beautiful about writing for yourself, though, don't you?
Yeah, I think, for me, for a while there, I kind of just lost that. I wasn't writing for myself anymore, and I had to take a break, and then I just had to. Now, I'm back at it, so I'm excited.
I'm really excited too, Lynn. I think that could be a whole discussion. Like what motivates you to keep going, and when you're kind of, I know you lost an agent, and when you have setbacks, it's so hard to want to do it for the love of doing it anyway. So I think it's powerful that you're rediscovering that. That's amazing.
Thanks.
I already said Jest and Kath in Heartless. Ellie says nodding along about Jane Austen adaptations. Alicia says Jest and Kath in Heartless. Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. And Candace says, "Ooh, you got my attention with ley lines." So, thank you so much for the comments. I hope that you're as excited about these ladies and their brilliant minds as I am. Do you have any last thoughts? Maybe aspiring writers or people who love romance. Any final words of wisdom you'd like to share before we do our drawings?
Love makes the world go round. It is so much fun, and I think that sometimes we take ourselves so seriously. Go and escape into a good love story. Go write one, and you may find that it's a riot. You might find that it's better than anything else that you're reading, and you should continue doing it. So good luck.
Absolutely. Write the book that you want to read.
And definitely just keep going. Just from just my own personal experiences, just don't forget to love it. Just don't stop, even though the publishing side of it can be really hard and really stressful, and you can have some setbacks. But I would say don't stop. And if you have to take a break, just write for yourself and discover that love for it again. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great answers. Okay, we're gonna do our little giveaway, and one shout out. Language of Cherries is our book club book of the month this month, so it's 99 cents for the next few days, and it's magical. I read it on a plane. I was actually going to Houston to help Jen with her book launch, and it was one of those books that I just ugly cried on the plane, and there's not many books that could make me do that. It's just so good and funny, and you won't just cry, you'll laugh too, and it's just magical. So this is 99 cents right now. It's incredible. Oh, and it was voted one of Kirkus's best indie romances of 2020. They only had like 4, and this was on there. So
That's so awesome. Congrats.
Mine's in the mail. I can't wait. I can't wait to get it. I'm so excited.
So good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here. We love this conversation. And ladies, we didn't talk about everything in the comments, so if you want to go peek at the conversation there, it's a lot of fun. Thank you all for being here and participating, and hope you have a lovely Valentine's with lots of love.
Happy Valentine's, everyone. Thanks, Emma.
Bye.
Subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss an upload, or join us live every Thursday for author interviews, book clubs, writing advice, and more on Facebook at Owl Hollow Press, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. See you Thursday.